Tell me what the scenario is.
Sure. We've got mental health clinics that are spread over six to seven different towns in Iowa, and they're growing. They're constantly adding new providers in towns and opening up other shops. They've got a 2003 server sitting in Lee Mars, Iowa, and and we are converting them to Exchange E3 plan because they need encryption and Exchange. So. Right now, that file server is old. They were going to stick little NAS boxes in all their offices, and that's where they were going to store their files, and they were going to have no way of sharing. And they do their actual application, their EMR application is online. It's hosted. So they need a place to store files. They need Active Directory, and Azure would be a perfect fit for them because they absolutely refuse to put a server on site.
Nice.
They want to get rid of the and we need to eliminate peer-to-peer nightmares, and because of security primarily. So, and Active Directory in the cloud would be perfect. Backup in the cloud would be perfect because, like I said, they have no one on site to handle anything. We are located 30 miles from their main office. So for us, it's a great solution too because we could do everything in the cloud.
And our goal would really try to get them into a managed service play for all the PCs, laptops that they have spread around, get them integrated into AD, so that we have that control, monitoring AV, remote assistance, all those type of things. And they have a reluctancy to have more on-site hardware, so we want to look at providing, Azure servers in the cloud as we need those kind of things, but integrate it really with AD in the cloud somehow.
Great. Okay, Joe, which one do you want me to, do you have an actual opportunity or do you want me? Okay. All right, tell us about the opportunity and what you plan to do.
The actual opportunity is a construction company that was about 50 people. It's scaled down because they changed their business. Their actual size now is about 5 people. They put in turf fields now. They used to do site development. Now they put in turf fields. And so they go to stadiums and schools and townships and all around the U.S. And so they need to be quite mobile. Before it was just the Philadelphia region. They have a 2003 small business server with Exchange on it. We need to get them off all of that and move them onto a mobile platform or a more mobily accessible platform. And the plan is to move them to Office 365 using OneDrive for all of their files, general files, especially CAD drawings and large photos, tons and tons of photos. And then to move stuff into the Azure servers for mobile access for QuickBooks, FTP files. And those were the two first we were going to start with. Okay?
I think there's a lot of opportunity, and as we're going through this, I've got a client with a very similar scenario. They've got 9 locations. They don't have any servers at all. It's all peer-to-peer. We actually host a terminal server for them for one app that they use at our data center, but everything they do locally is just a bunch of old machines. So we're in the process, and as we're going through this, Azure is a perfect scenario so that we can do an Active Directory for this. It's a customer we just kind of took over their local network. We just were doing the one server before. But as you look at it from the Active Directory perspective, if we can truly create a domain as opposed to having all these peer-to-peers everywhere, they don't want to put servers in, so they had said, well, can we put data storage devices everywhere? We're like, no. But this is a scenario where we can take those images of they do the handicapped accessible vans, and they're in about 8 states. So it's very difficult for us to travel to all these states trying to coordinate that process. We're looking at hardware as a service, and we're looking at some way to Active Directory across the network, which, again, I think this is a perfect scenario for everything we're doing. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that's what everybody's saying. This is a great scenario for small to medium SMB world.
Do you know what is the largest Azure server that Microsoft currently hosts, and for what large client? Fortune 100, Fortune 50?
I think we're the largest. Yeah.
I should say excluding Microsoft.
We have several, it might be coming up later in your deck, but we have several enterprise customers. I think Coca-Cola, there's McDonald's, there's several of them who are currently on Azure. And if you look up...
In production or in test?
In production, yeah, in production. But if you look at some of the major sites that we do, Bing, TechNet, what else? I mean, most everything that we're doing now is hosted, but if you look at the really large ones, the Olympic site, the Sochi 2014, that was terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. So that one was huge.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll confer in the back. We've got a $50 Best Buy gift card to the winning solution, and we'll let you guys know right after lunch.
Yeah, one thing
Yeah.
that I want to ask you, because you're the technical guy.
Sure.
So one thing Joe mentioned was he's going to put a lot of CAD drawings up into OneDrive and SharePoint.
Right.
Is that a preferred method for very, very large files, or would a hybrid be more appropriate?
Well, I think what Joe's kind of referring to is that if he does use OneDrive, it will be synced locally as well as in the cloud. So you kind of are using a OneDrive type. I mean, you are kind of using a hybrid solution in that regard. There are some solutions when you're. It depends on how often you're accessing those files and downloading them. Obviously, I mean, if this is going to be there for primary backup storage, they're going to be accessed maybe once every month or so. I think Azure or file storage in Azure would probably be okay. But right, well. That's correct. So from a default Microsoft Azure file storage type backup synchronization type scenario, that does not exist today. There are third-party solutions that use Azure as their storage, as their back end, but not directly through the Microsoft Azure portal. So OneDrive for Business is something that could be used. There are ways to do it as well. I mean, you could use SharePoint as well if it's a collaborative solution. So there are some techniques in order to get it going.
So you guys are going to collaborate in the back, and we're going to move on just a little bit while they do that. We're going to talk about sales and marketing. How many of you guys have a sales and marketing function at your company? Good. How many of you guys don't do anything sales and marketing? Okay. All right. You can take a break. It's cool. No, so this is my sweet spot, guys. And so like we were talking about earlier, there's a huge opportunity out there for Windows Server 2003. And maybe it's not within your current client base, but let's go out and find them. And how do we do that? And I do have some more handouts that I'm going to give to you, but I'm going to hold off until we get to some of these sections. So we're going to talk about a few things, really understanding what kind of marketing opportunities are out there, what Microsoft has for you as resources, how you can find them, where they're at, have some confidence, and then how can you track some return on investment on these things. So those are the things we're going to talk about here. So there's a couple of things that we've seen in the marketplace for partners. There's two different types of marketing organizations. One we call a managed, informally managed, and one we call a formally managed. So the difference here is if you pay a marketing person who has a marketing budget of any size, then you're formally managed. You have a formally managed marketing person, marketing team. If you just kind of do it as opportunities come up, you're the owner, you're the salesperson, you're everything. You wear all the caps. Then you're informally managed. There's no right or wrong way to do marketing, but we've recognized that it falls into a couple buckets where I think they give some stats later. It's about 56% are actually informally managed. I may have the numbers reversed, and then about 44% formally managed. So we'll talk about some of those scenarios. So here's why marketing matters more than ever. Everything's changing. Okay, I'm using an example. I just went through this process. Is there anyone who recently has bought a car? Recently, last few months, last 6 months, last year? Several. Okay, good. So when you guys went to go buy a car, how much did you know about that car before you went to the dealership? A lot, right? You knew all the different trim levels. You knew all the horsepower and torque of the engine. You knew the towing capacity. You're getting a truck. You need to do that. You know the invoice. You know how much you want to pay for the car. You look up, okay, does Costco have a deal? Can I leverage that? You know everything that there is. And people, when they go in to buy a car, are more equipped than ever to come away with the best deal. You go on Kelley Blue Book, and it doesn't tell you the actual price of the car. It tells you what the fair market value is of what you should pay for the car. Right? There's all these resources out there. And so if you start thinking, it's not just people buying cars in this manner. This is the way that they're finding information about everything that they do. Does that make sense? So people don't want to be sold anymore. right? I'm a hardcore salesperson. I started selling Kirby vacuums door to door, knocking on doors. It's not the same thing anymore. However, the principles that I learned back then are the same exact principles that we have today. So if I can walk you through it, here I'm an introverted kid. I sign up for college, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go out and get a job. And so I find this job. They guarantee. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. It's really cheap to live there, Texas, right? So for me, I saw this ad and it said guaranteed $1,500 a month, and I thought, $1,500 a month, I can eat steak and lobster, because my rent was $300 a month. I didn't have a car payment because I had an old beat-up Mustang, and so I wanted to find a way to make this work. And so what I learned was, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to knock on doors. I'm going to go in and sell vacuums. It's going to be easy. Well, it wasn't that easy, right? So what I found was there are 3 steps that really made it successful. The first step was I had to learn how to get in a door, okay? And that was a very difficult process. For an introverted kid, I had to knock and knock and knock. And we started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we knocked till 9 o'clock at night. Even though it was dark, 9 o'clock at night, I was this 18-year-old kid knocking on people's door. Who is it? Why would you be knocking on my door at 9 o'clock? It took me about 2 or 3 days to even get my first door. That's the first step. How do I get in the door? Okay? But once you get in the door, you have a whole other problem. And then the next problem is, I have to do a presentation. I have to sell this thing, right? And so most young sales reps, the way that they sell a product is by discounting, okay? And so in this particular case, Kirby vacuums are expensive, right? Back when I started selling them about 18, 20 years ago, $1,795 plus tax equaled $1,943.09 for a vacuum cleaner. A lot of money. So what I would do is I would do what I knew would be a presentation that they showed me how to do, and then I'd say, okay, I know that's a lot of money. How about $1,500? Okay, I know that's still a lot of money. How about $1,200? And then they'd say no, and then the deal was, if they don't say yes to $1,200, then you call your manager. The manager comes in, and he says, Justin, go ahead and pack up the machine. You know what? We really don't want to take this thing with us. How about $980? That's our lowest price. And that's how I ended up selling. I sold because they knew that that was the lowest price. We're walking out the door, and that was the best deal I could possibly get. But then I started learning, okay, when I sell for $980, I don't make anything, like zero. I made zero. The deal was that if, in a month's period of time, if you sold 8 vacuums, the next one you sold was free. So you wanted to sell the 9th one, but if you didn't sell 8 vacuums, you worked the month for free. But you wanted to sell for a higher dollar amount, right? That was the whole catch. So the step 2, so step 1 was get in the door, and step 2 was learn how to sell. But then step 3 is how do I sell and make money, right? And so that's what you always want to think about. How do I get to that 3rd step? So if you think about everything that's in the world, so once I started thinking about, okay, what are some of the benefits and features that I can show off, that I can make, that I can get people to really understand, hey, this thing's actually worth $2,000. Then my price point started going up and I started making money. It's the same thing when we think about getting people online, okay? So when we think about how do I get people onto my website, that's stage 1. How do I get in the door? I want to get them there. Once you get them there, then you have to get them to sign up for something. You want to sell them a cheap service. You want to just get them to sample something. And then the 3rd step that you want to get to is once they sample it, how do I then go in and really sell them something that makes me some money? And so that's what we're trying to accomplish. Let's figure out how those things work. So the dynamics have really changed. I mean, people are out there, they're finding information on the web, and people are becoming buyers. They don't want to be sold. So let's let them buy, and we will give them the information so they can buy from us. That's the new way of doing sales and doing marketing. So what we're seeing is that partners who are regularly producing content and doing a well-groomed process to manage and track activities and ROI are doing better. And so there's a few simple ways that we can do this. Here's that stat. So 44% are informally managed, 56% are formally managed. Now on the side here, these are the types of marketing that when we did a poll of partners who are doing marketing, this is 36% of them published articles or some type of ad. Doesn't mean that they did 36% of their marketing that was publishing ads. 26% of them did some type of social media. Okay? So this gives you an example. So social media, hosting events and webinars, email campaigns, online marketing tools, and case studies. So those are the things that we're seeing in the marketplace that have at least a significant percentage. you have to repeat the same message, they say 7 times before somebody really hears it. And you have to do that over a 6 to 12-month period. So we have to do it frequently. 'Cause here's what happens. So let's say that you guys go out and you do an event, and this event's fantastic, and you get somebody's wheels turning. If you don't follow up with that customer and tell them again, and there's another partner that goes in and they do tell them, now they just heard it for the second time. If they follow up with them again, then they're probably going to end up getting the business. If they don't, and another partner comes in, because let's face it, there's almost 700,000 Microsoft partners out there. Somebody's going to be following up with them whether you do or not. That's one of the things that makes Microsoft so big, is that there's a lot of opportunities because we have a huge reseller channel. So make sure that you're always out there following up and you're saying the message over and over in different platforms, in different ways. Microsoft on the back end, I mean, so Microsoft obviously spends billions of dollars to make sure that we're getting the message out in a lot of different areas on your behalf, but we can't say, hey, you've got to go to ABC company. We just leave it out there open for them to find you guys, and then you guys come in with the local marketing to be able to attract those customers. So let's talk about some essential things to create success. Now, this deck, I love this part of the deck. And the guys, you can tell they're really cool marketing guys because they came up with a couple of key terms: tofu, mofu, and bofu. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. Okay? So I think we took it out, but basically what they were saying is, if you take 1,000 contacts, you put them into the funnel, you get to the top of the funnel. If you're doing some type of, let's say, an email campaign, 5% of them open it. Now you're down to 50 contacts. Let's say that of those 50 contacts, 50% of them actually download something. So now you're down to about 12 contacts. And then when you get down to the bottom of the funnel, if you have a 30% close rate, you're going to get about 4 customers. So 1,000 people go into the funnel, 4 people come out as customers. That's about what we're seeing. Okay? So let's talk about inbound and outbound marketing. How many of you have ever heard of inbound marketing? Okay, so this is really key. You have heard of it? So if you guys are readers, there's a book called Inbound Marketing. It's written by the CEO of HubSpot. His name is Brian Halligan. It's one of the best books on marketing I've ever read. I liked it so much I've read it a few times. But I highly recommend Inbound Marketing by Brian Halligan. And so the whole concept here is, if we think about traditional marketing, outbound. So let's look at some of these things. Online advertising, so paid displays. You're doing Google AdWords, Bing AdWords. You're putting up some type of banner on a website. You're actually disrupting a user, trying to get them to come to you. Does that make sense? Whereas, and so we got direct mail, email blast, telemarketing, trade shows. Those are all things where we're just trying to spread the word about who we are. We should be doing that, but we should also start putting some inbound marketing type things. So some inbound marketing, how many of you guys get referrals? Hopefully all of you, right? That's really the best form of inbound marketing. You're not having to do anything. You service your customer and they say great things about you, right? So if your customer goes out and they put up something that says some fantastic review of you on Pinpoint or some other review site, Facebook or whatever it may be, you get a customer from it, that's inbound. If you write some white papers that are out on the internet and people are doing research and they're searching for, hey, what's some solution that I can do? I'm a startup company and I don't want to put any servers on site. What should I do? And they look it up and they see that you wrote a white paper. They see you have a web page. What you can do at this point, this is what I love to do, is actually go through and let's say you're doing a blog. On your blog, you might put a couple of paragraphs that really reel them in and make them want to read the rest of it. You put one sentence that's kind of open-ended. You don't finish the sentence. You put ... If you want to read the rest, give me your email address. Then you email them the rest of the content. The reason you want to do that is because you want to have a real email address. Right? If they put in, like I see this all the time, I'll try to scam their system and I'll say my email is jason@maine.com. You know, make up some weird name and some weird domain. And if they give me the content, then they didn't really get anything from me. But whenever they say, okay, we just emailed it to you, and I think, oh man, now I have to go back and do it again and give them my real email address, right? So you want to collect good, valuable data, and that's inbound. Now people, once they're doing that research process, they're just in the top of the funnel. You're going to have to continue to touch them through the middle of the funnel. So those are some other things. Pinpoint. How many of you guys have Pinpoint profiles? Is there anybody who does not have a Pinpoint profile? Okay, so those of you who just raised your hand, write it down, Pinpoint. you definitely want to get on there. Like I said, Microsoft is spending so much money on every different type of marketing we have, and when we say go find a partner, we say go to Pinpoint. Make sure whenever you do have your Pinpoint profile that you do optimize it. So that means get some customer references, which are they do raise your rankings when you have customer references. Make sure that you list on there your competencies, and then write a bio about yourself with keywords, just like you're putting on your website so you can do search engine optimization. Make sure it's optimized on there so people can find you. They will go on there. If you're not listed, there's no chance you're going to get that business. There's no chance that you're going to be able to take advantage of those resources. Social listening tools. So here's one thing. So when we talk about social and we talk about, okay, we can post some things up on social, that's outbound marketing, right? But one of the things that we can do is we can look on Facebook, we can look on Twitter, we can read hashtags, and we can see, okay, who's talking about Office 365? Just search for hashtag Office 365. Search for hashtag Azure, Microsoft Azure, whatever you want to search for, and see what people are saying about products. There could be people who are asking for references. There could be people who are asking for, hey, who do you know that's a good partner that does this type of service? You're out there looking for people who are actively looking for a resource. You're not publishing anything, you're just listening and responding. A lot of times on social, that's the big mistake a lot of people make, is they're always telling everybody, but they're not listening. That's the other thing that you want to think about for your own company, is what are people saying about me? Because most likely, if you're doing a good job, somebody's saying something about you, or if you're not doing a good job, they could also be saying something about you, and it's very public. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Yelp, whatever the case may be, you want to look at what people are saying about your company. Now, they say, if there's news out there, it's all good news, right? Something's coming your way. It's not always about what people say, it's about how you respond. So if you have an issue that's out there, that's okay. You can blow people away with the response that you might have to it, and if it's in a public forum, you could turn it right around. Okay, so, but the key here is just make sure you understand what people are saying about you in a social forum. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about social in a little bit. Paid search, paid listings, all inbound types of marketing. So think outbound, I'm disrupting people, trying to get my name and my company in front of people. Inbound, I've got all these resources out there for people to go out and just find resources on their own. I don't know who the heck they are, but they're going to come to me because I put those things out there. Read the book. There's a lot of great resources for you in that. So what Marketing Sherpa has said is that 62%, it costs 62% to get a lead from inbound marketing than outbound marketing. It takes a little bit to get used to it, but once you start understanding the principles, it becomes much more effective. The other thing is that SEO should become a cornerstone of your marketing efforts. Okay, how many of you are experts on SEO? How many of you are okay with SEO? Okay, this is an area that you can potentially get a huge return on. Okay, not only because you can get a return because you can increase your rankings on a website, on Bing and Google and Yahoo, but because customers want to know how to acquire people on Bing and Yahoo and Google, right? Most of the time when I go out and do presentations, I'll be going out doing an Office 365 presentation, but I don't talk about SharePoint, and I don't talk about OneDrive, and I don't talk about Lync in the beginning. What I do is I talk to them about SEO, how to do paid advertising, how to do social advertising, and then I say, hey, now that you're going to have all these new customers, how are you going to follow up with them? Are you going to use a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo email address to follow up with them? Are you going to, what are some of the resources you're going to have to be able to create workflows to make this easy if you're going to have a scalable business? Let me show you a cool tool with Office 365. Let me show you some things that you can do with that. Does that make sense? So SEO, one of the things that's great about Microsoft is we have a ton of resources, and one of those resources is Bing. I know quite a few people on the Bing team now, and there's a ton of free resources out there to help you guys understand how SEO works and how you can coach and teach some of your customers how SEO works, and maybe if you're out there delivering some events. So I've got a slide here. So I'm going to skip the Palmetto and come back to it. So here's 5 tips that Bing gave us for your website. If you guys think about, I'm going to wear a hat of a search engine, Bing, Yahoo, Google, whatever, it doesn't matter. If I'm scouring the internet and I'm looking at a web page If I'm just looking at a web page, what do you think the first thing I'm going to see is? Well, it's going to be the title, but also, and to me, this is out of order. To me, they're going to look at the URL, okay? I'm going to first, before I even see what the source code is, I'm going to see what the URL is. So you want to make sure that that URL describes what you and your company does, okay? I'll give an example. I had a real estate agent, my wife and I, we got married a little over a year ago. We bought a house. We worked with a realtor, and he said, hey, Justin, you know some stuff about web. I want to get a website up and running. And he asked if I could help, and I said, sure. I said, let's start. What do you think you're going to call your website? And he said, how about LarryBros.com? I was like, well, okay. So what does that tell me as a search engine that you do? And really all it tells us is that it's a guy named Larry Bros. That's all it tells us. And so what we ended up working on was he sells real estate in North Tustin, California. So he's starting to look at, okay, maybe I should look at northtustinrealestate.com. Now if I'm a search engine, I look at the domain name by itself, I have a little bit of a description of what the product or service is. When I have subpages and I have northtustinrealestate.com / all of those descriptions should be describing the page that they're on themselves as well. Does that make sense? Then you get to the page title. Most small businesses, if you go to their page, you hit the home page, the title of the page, when you look up on the top, Internet Explorer or Chrome or whatever browser you're using, the title of the page is Home. They're missing out on some very valuable real estate that they can be utilizing. The search engine looks at the domain, it looks at the title. Those are the two main characteristics that they're looking at on the website. And if your title and your URL are not descriptive of what you're doing, you're most likely not going to be on the first page. Okay? So make sure that you have all those things updated. Keywords, so make sure, I mean, this is the old school SEO, make sure that your page is talking about what your product or service is. Now, you don't want to do keyword stuffing, you don't want to say it too many times, but make sure that Google and Bing are really looking for who's got great content so we can point people to really great web pages. And the next thing is, make sure you do research. So if you're trying to go after a particular keyword, put in that keyword. Now, the other thing to look at for your title tags and your URLs is what would I search for in Bing or Google to find my company? Whatever you think you would search for, that is what you want your title tag and your URL to be. Okay? Shorter term, what they call short tail, so that might be MSP, that'd be very short tail, or it could be managed service provider or MSP in Orange County, California. Would be longer tail. It's much easier to optimize for that, and it's much more targeted. Now, over a period of time, once your site becomes bigger and better, then it'll be easier to optimize for the shorter tail. If you're driving downtown, like I use an example because I live close to LA, if I'm driving up the 5 freeway and I'm driving through downtown, you're not going to see a 1-story building. But you are going to see the 100-story US Bank building, right? And that's the difference in a web page. Like most small business web pages are 5 to 10 pages long. But if you add to that, you do a blog, simply add a blog and do a blog once a week. Over a period of a year, you're going to add 50 pages to that blog, or to that website. Now all of a sudden you went from a 10-page website to a 60-page website. You went from a 1-story building to a 4-story building. And over a period of time, you can become bigger and bigger and better. So that's one of the things that can really help you. Make sure that you have a lot of content. Make sure you have a lot of pages, because the more pages give you more opportunity. All right, so social is both a tofu, top of the funnel, and mofu. But with content that we put out on social and all of the other resources, if it's important in the top of the funnel, it's critical in the middle of the funnel. Because once you get them to say, okay, we might be interested in you, you want to make sure that they have some really great content to read about you and the products and services that you have. Now, what we've seen is 64% of marketers say that social media is important. Generates a lot of success. But one of the things that we also see is that whenever you're referencing content, it's got to be good. And one of the things Microsoft gives you is free content. We have tons and tons of content. We want to try to make it as easy for you to find as possible. So what we have, we have case studies, white papers, tips and tricks, infographics, slide shares, syndicated websites from RTG. All of this stuff is out there. Have you guys seen this before? Have you seen any of these materials? A lot of times you'll see it on Ready to Go. But do you guys know the SMB Partner Center? Write down this website. It's aka.ms/. SMB Partner Center. So I'll tell you, as a partner, I told you guys earlier I was a partner, and one of the things I hated as a partner was there's so much stuff out there and I couldn't find it all. As an SMB partner with Microsoft, we now have one page that will get you everywhere you need to go. You want to learn how to do sales and marketing? We have a sales and marketing resource. You want to know what the current incentives are? We'll take you right to the incentive page. That we put it on that page before we do any other type of advertising of the incentives. If you want to know about, hey, where are some local trainings? You go onto that page and you can find all the trainings, either online or in person. It's all there at that one site. So if you left with one thing today, I'd like for you guys to leave with at least knowing that one link, aka.ms/SMB Partner Center. So all of these things are all part of the Ready to Go. So if it's, you can get to the site there. You can go to readytogo.microsoft.com. And what's great about this is you can utilize these case studies that we have. So I had a partner who called me a couple days ago, and they said, hey, there's this big franchise expo. What can I do to put together to really target advertising to franchises? And we have a great video case study of a franchise in Los Angeles. And so he's going to put this up on his website so that he can show people, hey, just go to this link. It's all about franchisors and how they can utilize Office 365 and Azure, like this franchisor who's saving $1 million a year. It's free. Anybody can use it. You guys can use the same thing. It's very vendor or partner agnostic. So you've got white paper, slide shares, the syndication, right here, the syndication. Any of you guys use syndication on your websites? So what syndication is, we actually build out the portal for you. And in the portal, if somebody clicks to like trial Office 365, your partner of record is automatically put into the Office 365 subscription. So whenever they're ready to renew or actually go live, you're already partner of record whether they decide to go open or advisor. Okay? So let's speed through some of this other stuff. So some of the foundational things, and I've got a flyer for you, or a handout for you guys that's got some foundational and sophisticated type marketing activities. But if you don't do anything else, do a monthly newsletter to your customers. Make sure you're reaching them on at least a monthly basis. Enabling some infrastructure with email service providers like Constant Contact makes it easy for yourself. If you want to be a little bit more sophisticated, doing some automated marketing. So if somebody comes to your website and they click on, let's say they click on Office 365, automated marketing would say, okay, it's automatically 2 days later going to follow up with them in an email saying, hey, we saw you clicked on this, would you like to give it a trial? Then if they don't do anything, maybe 3 or 4 more days later, it'll send them another one saying, hey, you didn't get our first email, what happened? Or if they did click on it, it says, maybe a week later, it says, what do you think of the trial? Were you able to get it installed successfully? So that's more of a longer term. So then we have a marketing SureStep. So we have Cloud SureStep, we have Azure SureStep, Office 365 SureStep. I have a handout for you guys I'm going to give to you. Maybe, Johnny, can you hand out the flyers there that we have? Yeah, so that's our marketing SureStep that we have. And so it's going to give you a full checklist of everything you should look at. Email marketing, whether it's automated marketing if you're going very sophisticated, are you doing trade shows, events, are you getting involved in Microsoft Community Connections? It's very similar to this. Checkboxes, top of the funnel, pinpoint, social listening, so forth. The MCC? Yeah. Perfect. So this is what he's handing out right here. Foundational, progressive, and sophisticated marketing. Okay, the different things that you can do. So let's look at, so RTG, we just talked about syndication. We also have things up here. If you guys want to do an end of server 2003 campaign, we have everything built out for you. If you want to do presentations, we have slide decks for you. We have emails that you can do as email campaigns. We do telemarketing campaigns. Everything's there for you. Just click on show me all the resources that are available, and it's built for you. If you want to do a SQL Server campaign, you want to do a Windows 8.1 or soon to be Windows 10 campaign, it's all going to be built out for you and it's all on Ready to Go. What we see is partners who utilize Ready to Go do better than partners that don't. On average, 20 to 30% more cloud business than partners who don't use Ready to Go. So some of the things you'll get, marketing best practices, web content, the Constant Contact. If you do email marketing, we actually give you a discount. There's a lot of things that Microsoft puts their weight behind to get you guys discounts. One is if you want to have an SEO company come in and help you, we've got a significant discount for this company to help you. It's $2,000 for a 6-month campaign for somebody to help you with SEO. Constant Contact, I believe it's either $100 or $200 off their normal subscription rate as a Microsoft partner. So there's a lot of great stuff here. And one of the last things I'll leave you guys with is the program that I run for the West is called Microsoft Community Connections. It's all about working with business influencer groups. So these are groups like Chambers of Commerce or business associations, Rotary clubs. Maybe, and I mean, there's an association for everything, right? I was blown away that in California, I ran into a lady at an event. She ran the California Society of Pest Control Applicators. And there's 6,000 small businesses that do pest control in California. Who would have ever thought? She got up and running on Office 365, and now she's helping us push Office 365 to every one of those pest control companies. So what we're trying to help you with in Microsoft Community Connections is not just, hey, go join your chamber, but how do I become a strategic partner with the chamber and actually get business from them? How do I turn them into like a commission-only sales rep where they're actually doing, they're doing the hard legwork of getting people to come to my events, they're sending out emails on my behalf, and then if you want to, you can even create a program where you pay them a commission for everything that comes in. We've seen that work for a lot of partners. JJ, do I have time for the video? Okay, so we did an event in LA, and this was a little video that we put together just showing some success of our partners. And also some our big bosses in here, Cindy.
We're undergoing a technology revolution where the solutions that previously were available only to Fortune 500 companies now are available to the very smallest of companies. And that is opening up a sea of opportunities. It brings a broader world. It brings the network of everything together that is influencing, impacting small business. And MCC and small business together is powerful growth.
Everybody's absolutely blown away by the fact that there's all these tools available, some of them at no charge from Microsoft, to get them that benefit and the boost that they need to grow their business.
Leveraging the Microsoft Community Connections program, we were able to take our business to 480% growth year over year in the past 2 years in a row. This is something we could not have done with traditional marketing methods.
Microsoft Community Connections has been a terrific partner with the Chamber. They get access to our programs to improve their business knowledge and to also use their expertise to help educate other members.
So Microsoft Community Connections has a new playbook that will walk you through step by step on exactly how to find influencers in your local market, how to reach out to the right person at them, and how you can create programs that can increase your sales pipeline and ultimately increase your bottom line.
We've been able to pair up some of our local partners as well as our influencer groups like local chambers to provide both educational sessions as well as solutions for those influencer groups.
The stores can offer some basic services when a customer comes in and actually needs that next level of implementation or support. The store can then help that business organization or help that business customer to achieve the needs that they've come into the store for.
Microsoft Community Connections is a great opportunity for partners to really position themselves to be a local trusted advisor. They will basically become that go-to partner for their local market.
We have a saying that the business of small business is local. Inspiring our local partners, local business organizations to help those small businesses and bringing them together is what we're passionate about.
I think it's important for local business to be engaged with their local community because of the tremendous connections that exist just locally. I believe that Microsoft Community Connections is an invaluable program for local entrepreneurs. It's sort of like taking what the big companies know and use on a day-to-day basis and bringing it down to the level on a very affordable basis for the local entrepreneur. So the local entrepreneur gets the benefit from these programs that Microsoft's developed and utilized for you, the small entrepreneur. Small is the new big. Do more, be more.
So this is one of the keys right here. What we found are partners who use Microsoft Community Connections sell 15% more than partners that don't. Here you heard from some partners, you heard from some of our executives at Microsoft who really believe and support this program. And really this program is here to help you guys. Whether it's doing an event like with Kevin Harrington, who was one of the original sharks from Shark Tank and created As Seen on TV, everything you see on TV he owns. So I mean, whether you're doing an event very large scale with somebody like that, or you're just doing a local Chamber of Commerce event where you're talking about Office 365 or SEO or whatever the case may be, our team's here to help you and support you. So you have some information on this postcard about MCC and how we can help and support. If you're in the Western U.S., I'm your man. If you're not in the Western U.S., if you email the person on here or email myself, we'll get you in touch with the right person. There's a couple things in here about some campaigns that we have, but I'm going to talk about the campaigns at the very end, so I'll probably just skip through some of this. But there is some getting started resource and some homework. Make sure that you guys are tracking everything that you're doing online. If you're not seeing a return on investment, don't do it. There's 1,000 different things you can do to do sales and marketing for your company. If you can't track it, find something else. And if you need help figuring out how do I track the return I'm getting on social media, I can help you with that. I do it all the time. You can do it through creating different email addresses, creating new phone numbers, creating all kinds of different things. But if you need help with that, let us know. We'll certainly help you with it. All right, and then there's some additional resources. You guys are getting the full deck, so you'll have those links that you can click on later. All right, is this helpful for you guys? Okay, good.